Welcome, basement dwellers. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the end of the US dollar, more banks going under, what to expect for the future of the economy, and something Star Wars related. All this and more on Blockchain Basement. Bum, 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 bum. You ready for this? I'm ready. Welcome.
If you're gonna screw me, at least pull my hair.
Hell yeah. What you got?
They could start chopping off fingers. They're like, give me your seed phrase, but I don't know it.
Out to give the numbers out. And I was like, no, hang up the phone right now.
Or like when it dropped in 2020, was it like exciting?
400,000 to 600,000. The generational signals are now.
Level. So I don't even know if we're gonna get back below there, but if we do, that's kind of where we
All right, welcome into Blockchain Basement. Shout out to all of you guys. We definitely missed you. We were out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I had a lot of housekeeping, some actual work to do here, but we are back. We missed all of you. Yeah, I got those things popping around. Drew in the chat saying everybody's screaming bricks. They care now, don't they?
They sure do.
They sure do. So we got some craziness going on with the US dollar. Smash the like button if you haven't done it already. We know that is what we need to do to get the truth out there. And if you don't have enough, if you don't have any truth in your life, then you're just missing out. So shout out to Bubba's Crypto, Mike Volmer, Andre, anyone, Cryptotonic, B&H Baker, R.A. Daniel, Anthony Ackley, Fernando Diaz, Shrimpy Scapegoat, Nakodu, Chemistry Bro, Corey Harden, Mama's Crypto, I Bestium, Joe Stonkman, Satch Nasty, of course it is, Whiskey Dog, Dude What Is Mine Say, I Be Mike King, Bubba's Crypto, Whiskey Doge, Manawak, Simpson, Rug Gang. I do know, who was it? Was it Riddle with Puns I was talking to on the 24th? We did have a lot of fun on the Hit Network Gaming stream Friday. They did a 24-hour stream, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you guys haven't already subscribed to Hit Network Gaming, they're right at 900 subscribers right now. We really want to get them to 1,000. That way, after the show, we can raid them, and you guys can hang out and watch video games when you're not trying to make all your money on crypto all the time. So had a great time hanging out with all of you guys. Chemistry Bro, the plot thickened even more. I know you were hanging out in there. A handful of you guys from this show obviously hanging out with Hit Network Gaming, Joel. So we had a really good time. Played a lot of pickleball. Played some WWE, SmackDown. Oh my God. I don't know if you guys watched any of it, but apparently Tony D from Frankie Candle's channel is a god at Guitar Hero. Literally.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Through the Fire and the Flames. No problem on Expert. You know, playing some other really hard songs. First time he's ever heard it. No muscle memory whatsoever. But
What?
he's not on the show right now.
I feel like he's going to be full of surprises.
He is. He's one of those guys. He's sneaky, athletic, really good at pickleball. But real quick, let me introduce you guys. We've got Drew Wider. Oh, look at that. In the inverted seats. In the Biscuit Jesus, sitting with their opposite name tags. The beautiful Ali Lee. Bringing Bitcoin babies into the world. Just trying to make this place a better place for all of us.
Yes, that is a wild behota.
A wild behota.
BJ in his house. That's right. Yes, he is here. He is back. He was missed once again. And then when he came back, there was so much work for him to do that we couldn't just come right back to the show. All right. Bitcoin over the weekend. Let's see. We'll do a real quick check-in on where the price is now because it was moving pretty good this morning. All right. We're back above 27,144 right now. It was a little bit above that. It was like 27.8, I feel like, when I woke up this morning. So definitely on a bit of a pullback. Ethereum at 1,700. Hey, stable coins are being mostly stable, so we'll take it. $1 on Tether, 0.99 on USDC.
XRP fighting back against the narrative of downward action. It's still around 45, 47 cents. That's been surprising.
Holding strong. There seems to be some good news on the horizon when it comes to XRP. It's that case almost over. Like when you're looking at the weekly, XRP still up 21%. XDC, Litecoin, Tom Crown was freaking out in I saw over the weekend. Litecoin was the only thing up when everything else was down. So shout out to everybody's favorite Litecoin TA analyst, Tom Crown. But really quick, wanted to come to this. We got some Caleb Franzen stuff to look at today. As you guys know, great macro follow. It's just at Caleb Franzen on Twitter. He's been on ATB a couple times. We'll try to get him on the main channel as well. Really good analysis. Bitcoin's year-to-date drawdowns have been practically non-existent with only 3 declines of 10% or worse. Sideways consolidations have been common, but actual sell-offs have been rare this year. Notice how BTC is moving from the bottom left to top right here. Let me see if I can back that touch. Oh, we got a little margin on the side. So you can see, I mean, obviously this is the year for Bitcoin, not a straight line by any means, but pretty much up and to the right with some small consolidations here, which is kind of like what we're experiencing right now. We had a rate hike last week. We had a little bit of a pullback to consolidation, but not anything dramatic when it comes to, is that my eyes or is that the camera?
It's the camera.
Am I blurry, guys? Ooh, wait, focus. No! There you go. I had it for a second.
Gotta put your hands further out.
I gotta put my hand on my face.
Will Yum Yum said thoughts on filling the CME gap.
Yeah, we talked about it. I think it's at 20,300. It's definitely potential throughout the year. I do think we could range, but it feels like every time we get down to that 20,000 level, it gets bought up pretty intensely.
Yeah.
So it could be filled. But who knows? It's anybody's guess as to when, in my opinion. So Frank came on and did some TA this morning, covered some main levels to keep an eye on the main channel. But in my opinion, I think we're in that range right now. A lot of what we're seeing, I mean, we're definitely in a much different macro environment than we've seen in the past. Here's a little bit more of from Caleb, the 3 main developments that you should have on your radar right now as it pertains to the economy, the stock market, and Bitcoin. Number 1. This was big, guys. We've been talking about, and this is a theory, Drew, you've had for a while, that we're going to see easing and tightening at the same time, which we still did see. Like, they haven't backed off on the rates. They did still raise it another 25 basis points last week, which isn't surprising to anybody. Yeah. However, they also did a ton of quantitative easing, basically erasing the first 3/4 of all the tightening that they've done. So Federal Reserve assets increased by 94 billion last week after raising by 300 billion in the prior week. So approximately almost 400 billion in their assets in their balance sheet. You can see here. Here's the tightening. Here was them. No, you're good. You're good. Here's the tightening. Here's them dropping, lowering their balance sheet, and then boom, over the course of 1 week, or 2 weeks, really, just boom. Oh no, banks are in trouble. Spike it up.
Yep.
So is the government, are they the best magicians ever? Because they seem to just make shit appear out of nowhere.
They are very good, especially when it comes to they're great money magicians. Great.
I got to learn some stuff from them.
Yeah, they're really good at making money appear out of. Hey, it's easy when you run the printer, when you can just backstop anything. And we've got a clip about that today. Well, we'll play it here in just a minute from the author of The Creature from Jekyll Island. Actually, it was a talk of his. It's an old talk. It looks like probably.
You see, Ali, a lot of the times during the show, I feel like just it stares off. The second you bring up that book.
Yeah.
Well, it's relevant. We just listened to it.
Yeah.
No, it's phenomenal.
It's a great book. Yeah, we were just listening to it.
Because we just went to Jekyll.
Exactly.
Island.
And we were reading up on the author and all that kind of stuff. BJ loves the cursive shirt. He does. What's it on your? Yeah.
And I'm not
BJ's got about the same 10 shirts that he wears every day.
I'm not staring off into space. I'm reading the comments the entire time, trying to find good questions.
I'm the one. Wait, sorry, what?
Yeah, exactly. So this is pretty good here. This is like an addict going through withdrawal. Equity markets are finally getting their fix of liquidity and are unconcerned by why liquidity is getting injected. Meaning, look, there's new money in the market. We don't really care that it's on the fringe of a breaking system. We don't really care that it's not real money and it's unreliable. As soon as boom, we get new liquidity and boom, we're going to react. I mean, this is the equities market reacting almost in perfect step with the tightening and the easing. You get sideways action, it's consolidating, and then boom, injection of liquidity. Equities markets follow almost immediately. So the yellow line is the Fed assets. It shows right there. So number 3, considering that Bitcoin is an excellent gauge of financial liquidity, the digital asset is skyrocketing, up 68% year to date, up 40% since Signature Silicon Valley Bank's failure. Bitcoin relative to the M2 is below the 2017 peak, despite BTC USD being higher than 9K than the peak in 2017. So interesting. This was an interesting one. Bitcoin relative, this is to the M2 money supply, is below where it was in the peak of 2017, being higher than 9K than was in 2017. So that's just interesting. And basically inflation adjusted BTC to USD price analysis there. So here is the peak there. Here we are pretty much sitting right on it. This is that point of control Frank mentions a lot, where before we lost this point, it was battling hard for it. We fell back down underneath it. We have come back to reclaim it. So it's just very interesting. If you want to read the full analysis, entirely free, check out his latest edition of Club Analytics. I think
Cubic.
What's that?
Cubic.
Yeah. I retweeted that so you guys can follow that. And then here is... Oh, this is an animation. Yeah, this was cool. This is a pretty cool animation of how the market has been repricing the Fed fund rates over time. Yeah. So this is very similar to that graph.
Are we having sound?
It doesn't really
no
need sound.
Okay.
No.
I was about to say, I got to get up.
No sound for this. This is just... Oh, I'll mute myself. So at the start of the year, the markets expected the Federal Reserve to keep hiking rates until just below 5%. So you can see this is January 23rd, 24th, and it just kept pricing in... basically tightening, and then eventually here it starts going crazy. I think, here we go. Here we're into March. Wait a minute. Hot inflation data in January pushed up the future interest rate expectations well above 5%. And so you can see this gap getting wider and wider throughout February.
Of next year.
And then,
Jeez. This is their outlook of hopes of coming down from the current Fed funding rates, and that hope is dwindling. As the inflation numbers continue to rise, but then the banking collapse. Oh my God, we need to make things free again.
So. That was the end right there. Is really what it was when basically as we got into early March, it was looking tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and then all of a sudden the banks felt the squeeze, and then it just send it to the basement.
Hot.
Let it hang out with us. We don't want
it down here.
No, that's where it was for an insane amount of time.
Yeah. Seeing that animation though, you need a lot of backstory on how I think it was Citadel was posturing that we're going to be able to hold on to this 5% Fed funding rate, and all of these systems are going to have some sort of reasonable logical financial controls put in place so that they can actually bring inflation back down and keep everything within a purchasable realm for consumers that can't afford vehicles, much less their homes, purchasing new homes or renting out these new fancy lots that have been built over the last few years. But at the end of that, they realized that the entire foundation of what the derivatives market and the entire financial system, not just the banking system, relies on is quantitative easing. So when you see they have already broken things within the banking sector by going up to near 5%, then they have to completely walk back their whole intention of fighting inflation in the long term. And I think things are actually potentially going to get pretty ugly pretty quickly for America and the rest of the world.
You know what's not near 5%?
What's that?
The fractional reserve. Got him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, not even close. Less than 1% at this point.
0%.
Yeah. Well, they've got some cash. You know, they'd have to have literally no cash for it to be zero, but it is.
Well, it's allowed to be zero.
It's allowed to be zero. Yeah, and it is definitely less than 1. So there you go. You do that math.
No worries. They
Can we
usually
get some
go
less than 3s in chat though?
less than tree. I mean, they usually do above and beyond what they're expected.
Okay, Buzz Lightyear, chill out.
Yeah.
I can't read that name. Gregorius Polier. What's happening with Binance again? Binance is involved. It looks like CFTC now is bringing a case against, I believe it's Binance US. I believe it's Binance US. It could be Binance.com regarding sales of Bitcoin, Ethereum, BUSD, but they've got them all classified. The CFTC has classified all of them as commodities. So it will be interesting to keep an eye on that one. That was breaking news this morning. I don't have too much information on that one. But it does bring me to this next point here. This is, again, from last week. All of this is coordinated, all of it, and I tend to agree with this. Kraken, Silvergate, Signature, Paxos, Custodian Banks, Coinbase, Grayscale, Genesis, Gemini, new custody rules, banks, stablecoins, exchanges, rule changes, Wells notices, the SEC, the Fed, FDIC, OCC, New York DFS, the Department of Justice, Treasury, and they aren't done yet. Meaning all of these legal cases, all of this precedent we're seeing coming from all sorts of different regulatory bodies onto different sectors of crypto, whether it's the banking sector, whether it's the exchange sector, whether it's securities, commodities, class actions, all this different legalese stuff that's happening around Bitcoin right now. We've talked about it on this channel before. It is part of Operation Choke Point. It is part of wrangling or kind of restricting the movement within the crypto space. Ben mentioned it today on the morning stream. It's gonna result in two things. Either A, we're gonna fight back and we're gonna win for crypto and Web3 here in the United States, or it's gonna push a lot of this business outside of the United States, which is unfortunate for us as a country. You can make your own determinations if it's better for the world.
I guess a really good way to actually see that, well, not necessarily see that, but see how much external, I guess, investments are going on in certain countries. Like if we're going to ban it here, are they already making positions in the other countries that they feel are going to control it? Mm-hmm. So
we are starting to see that. I wish I had it right now per your question, but I did show a graph that was showing Web3 and crypto startups trending down in the United States, year over year, pretty dramatically. But people and bodies and jobs and all that sort of stuff will be interesting to keep an eye on as well. I do know Coinbase, and this is something that broke end of last week, which again, I really wish we were here to talk about it because I do have, little warmth there. That's like auto adjustment.
That happened out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's bizarre. Now it's coming back. Ooh, I'm getting cooler. Yeah, I think Coinbase is going to destroy the SEC in this lawsuit that came out last week. Basically, the Wells notice. Now, again, I don't know if it's not actually a lawsuit yet. It's just a notice of a lawsuit saying that Coinbase is selling unregistered securities. And watching the tone of both Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, their legal team, it was like they've been preparing for this case against the SEC since the day Coinbase opened its doors. And they are going to absolutely destroy the SEC attorneys, I think, in this one. They've got their pistol packed. They are ready to go. They've got their bullet points. They've been waiting to argue this case, I think, the entire time. And the SEC, they're going to just be in way over their heads. Like every kind of conversation and prompt that Coinbase has been having with the SEC for the last probably 5+ years, they've been documenting as, okay, that's ammo for the case. That's ammo for the case. That's ammo for the case. And they're just going to, in my opinion, absolutely destroy them.
It almost felt like some of those questions were like put out by Coinbase knowing that it was going to be used in court down the road.
That's the vibe I got as well.
They worded it so perfectly for a judgment. Like, it was kind of crazy reading back on them.
Yeah, and it's a good point. I mean, John from Shapeshift says this, like you hear this phrase a lot. This is the then they fight you stage in full swing. The amping up of the fight betrays their fear of crypto actually winning. And I agree 100%. The fact that they're fighting us this hard shows that there is actually some fear in the water. We've got Coinbase now here. The U.S. needs to update its financial system. The code is 40 years old. The laws are 100 years old. Cryptocurrency is not a financial service. It's a technology that can be used to update. But to update financial services, let's update the system.
Isn't the word, what is it? Usurper? How do you pronounce that? The overthrowing?
Like usurp?
Yeah. I always mispronounce it.
Yeah.
That's what needs to be in there.
Yeah, it's time to usurp the current technology. We need to move on. They are preparing. It looks like, obviously they've been changing a lot of the things that they do with their US platform. I do know that they've been setting up stuff in Singapore. You were asking about the places where things could flow to. Singapore, Dubai seem to be the likely solutions when it comes to economic freedom. It seems to be a lot of Web3 and crypto companies focusing in those two hubs. There's a lot of money in both of those places. There's a lot of people looking to activate capital. A lot of people are very forward thinking, see that as the future. Chemistry Bro says, I'm kind of excited for Coinbase just walk over the SEC in fully illustrate how incompetent and just silly the SEC has been acting. I agree. I think we're going to see that in full force. It was actually bizarre to me because, and maybe you guys can help me with this, I don't see the angle here for the SEC. Like, I feel like it's very obvious Coinbase is going to destroy them. I would think the SEC has some understanding of that themselves. Maybe they're completely detached from all of this. I don't know, as far as like maybe they lack awareness 100% and think they can actually win this. But they got destroyed by Ripple, and there was a lot less buttoned up there, where Coinbase has been actively pursuing the SEC for years, asking them questions, asking for clarification on all this stuff. And now they're just going to hit them with, oh, you're selling unregistered securities. And then they're going to be like, okay, well, at what point were you planning to tell us this? And like I said, they've got, documentation after documentation, meeting with, asking these questions, trying to follow the law as best they can, and now getting hit with something after the fact. I just don't see the win in any way, shape, or form.
I would love to see like what politicians are heavily involved or potentially invested, who's invested, who backs it. But again, what people are saying, where it's like a pseudo Game of Thrones, like let's say Gary Gensler, and this is all very hypothetical, is super invested in certain things. Somebody else in the government who's invested in Coinbase pissed him off, and he just wants to watch them burn.
Yeah.
So it feels like a very weird fiscal game that they're doing, but I don't know how open those sheets are to see like who those investors are, or if it's almost like umbrella companies where it'd be a pain in the butt to actually figure out who is investing.
A lot of times they do use umbrella companies and shell corporations to hide a lot of that stuff. But
I got a theory.
Go ahead, let's hear it. I want to hear it.
So this is very conspiratorial, but I think
you ready?
Yeah. I think that the SEC and Gary Gensler are controlled opposition that are going to be brought and rung as incorrect in front of the American public only after they scare enough of the public away from investing in these assets before the institutions move into tokenizing the financial system. Use the SEC to scare the investing public away from these assets while you transition your entire monetary system over to it, then let them lose. Then you have control of the rails. A bunch of plebes are left out of the situation, and everything is running as you want.
Yeah, that seems most. Yep.
There you go.
Seems most feasible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it isn't. It can't be forgotten of all this other stuff, which I don't even have a lot of. Well, maybe we do have some of it pulled up today. A lot of the other stuff that's going on around the world right now. BRICS nations making stand. The last thing we did cover on Wednesday was Russia and China agreeing, to settle trade, whether it's oil or other commodities, in digital yuan rather than the US dollar. Now we're seeing Kenya and parts of Africa coming out saying they're going to be doing the same thing. And this is really real. It's something that's been going on for a long time. And that actually fits in line with that's your kind of overarching theory of what BRICS banks are, right? Is like a controlled opposition.
Absolutely. BRICS, man.
Yeah, because it was what year was that actually floated and started, and by whom?
Oh, it was floated in October of 2001 in Manhattan.
God, it's like
what else happened? Something else happened in 2001.
Yeah,
right?
something.
Can't recall.
But the BRICS focus was the transition in world trade, and it was presented by Goldman Sachs.
Well, at least it wasn't a bunch of bricks that fell.
Yeah,
no,
I was going
it
to say,
was-
at least it wasn't in a specific center.
It's not too soon.
Yeah, it's not too
Yeah,
soon.
this
Still
whole
too soon.
situation feels like controlled opposition. Like if Russia sends in MRAPs or Ma Deuces from the 1970s and is just throwing their old equipment at the situation in Ukraine. And yeah, they're winning. They're beating the tar out of them. But I don't think that there is a reasonable expectation that this is just a, Putin versus Klaus type situation. Putin was on the young global leaders, and and Klaus still lets Putin run the cyber Polygon event. So why would the entire world open its blouse up to Russia as in regards to a cyber attack unless they weren't working together in tandem? at the exact
So
same
you're
time?
saying
Smoke screen.
Yeah, this is all part of the plan. Putin's just playing his role, and this was his angle to, kind of not bootstrap, but really overcharge his country into more of a power player position.
Yeah.
If they didn't want him in power, he wouldn't be in power. Like, let's be real
Right.
about
And
this.
I just feel like Russia and China felt like it was their turn to have a larger mouthpiece at the dinner table when it came to monetary policy. Drew or America.
You're Drew.
Yeah, I'm Drew. So America's been in control of finance and world trade and food for a really long time. And you run a risk of absolute civil unrest when you push civilization into that position. Now, China's experiencing Bailan, which is non-participation in the economy through non-violent ways, of course, because that's all they have. But if you keep pushing people into this corner, you're going to have an uncontrollable populace, and then the elites won't have anywhere to get their fancy matcha lattes, or their kids won't be able to attend private school because they don't exist. So you have to have a degree of normalcy within society, even for rich.
I have a question for Will Yum Yum.
Yeah.
If crypto was deemed illegal, how many of the panelists would leave the U.S.?
If crypto, like you're talking Bitcoin, any type of digital asset whatsoever was deemed illegal, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out of here too.
Yeah.
They've already taken a lot of the
So
2A
you're
reasons
coming
I
with
stay.
I guess I'm out.
Yeah.
Never happening, so not even thinking about it.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't, and they won't.
It'd be like trying to wrangle a cat on cocaine through an open prairie. It's just not happening.
Also, sticking with the Will Yum Yum, he said this, and I tend to agree 1,000%. He said, I shouldn't have frozen Russian assets, basically using the regulation and what's the word I'm looking for? Sanctions. They shouldn't have used sanctions to cut Russia off from the economy. That's the quickest way to lose reserve currency. And I agree 1,000%. That was, you can point to a lot of moments in time that were the beginning of the end for the US dollar, leaving the gold standard, quantitative easing, all these different things was kind of the beginning of the end. But in my mind, at least in recent history, that choice right there, using the dollar to sanction one of the other biggest nations, other biggest economies in the world, because you don't like what they're doing, was a warning and a signal to every other country. Oh, if you don't align with the U.S. agenda, your reserves in their currency are useless to you, so you cannot use this as a safe store of value. In my mind, that was the beginning of the end of a lot of things. Great point, Will Yum Yum. That definitely kind of, you can't undo that. You can't put that, that's Pandora's box, so to speak. You can't put that back in the box. Once you do that to one nation, every other nation knows, like, oh, they could do this to me, and this money that we're relying on is reserved because it's the more stable asset may not be worth anything if we're not doing what we're told, and we don't want to do what we're told. So truly, if you're storing your assets in another government's currency, you are not a sovereign nation in any way, shape, or form, and you are subject to the government whose currency you are holding.
Absolutely.
And that they made that loud and clear, and I don't think Russia liked the sound of that, and they're punching back. And it seems to be all part of the plan. The question is just whose. I've heard time and time again, the biggest part of moving the world to a global economy, a one world economy, so to speak, will take moving the United States down a few rungs.
Absolutely.
Because we're way too comfortable here in the United States. If they want everybody operating on the same terms, on the same wavelength, so to speak, they're trying to bring everything closer to the middle. They're trying to bring some of the bottom nations up closer to that median, but that means some of the top nations have to come down closer to that median range. And us here in the United States is part of that. So it ain't gonna be fun.
I look so tan.
Yeah, I know. It's
I look very
it's
Caspery.
it's the camera's trying to figure it out, but
Oh, I took yours off auto.
oh, okay, perfect. But yeah, I would at this point, to BJ's point, I don't think it will come to the point where it is completely outlawed here in the United States, because it would be just, I mean, if they do that, they'll make sure to supplant themselves well in the past, as far as, you know, just give it 15 years and we'll be left behind through economic innovation if we don't. That being said, I'm going to be prepared in case they do, because
Also, you make it illegal. I know there's, in the grand scheme of things, the liquidity or the overall market cap that is in the crypto world, like you make it illegal. Like, how do you get that out before you do that? Like, what would be the rug pull? What would be the exit liquidity? Like, there's a lot of those questions that come up very quickly.
Yeah, they wouldn't necessarily, like, if all they would do is it basically would be like what it is in China right now. It is illegal in China. Now, sure, you can go get it. You can, you know, there's things you can do to work your way around it, and you would have to choose to be, you know, a citizen that is in protest of the current leadership's rule of law, and live with the consequences that come with that, whether that's leaving the country or doing something that you know has been deemed illegal. Plenty of the people there continued to do it, knowing it was illegal, knowing that enforcement would be very difficult. Oh God,
I'm laughing at Schrodoro's box.
I'm laughing at
Capo?
yeah, that he tweeted today.
He's adding to his shorts.
Adding to his shorts. He's either going to be really right or really wrong. Yeah, I agree. Hey, you gotta.
At least he's got conviction.
I was about to say, you got to give him credit for conviction. I guess.
I'm still voting that big Black Swan event around May 7th.
May 7th, huh? Well, that'll be interesting. We'll see. So, but I think Coinbase is fighting back. I don't, you know, Ryan Selkis from Masari has been pushing back pretty hard. I don't think we're gonna. Look, we started this. We were the beginning of this digital revolution, and I do think we still have a lot of patriots here in the United States, people that are willing to fight for this, fight for not only the future of our industry, of the economy, whether it be global or not, but also the future of our country. I do think we still are the greatest country in the world by many metrics, and we do still have the ability to stay that way. Now, if we continue down the path that the current regulators are sending us towards, we won't stay that way very long at all. The banking system, that's a problem. That's going to be a problem no matter who's in charge. But we'll have to see. I mean, Ryan tweeted this. He says the campaign for crypto is starting. Coinbase to start donating to pro-crypto candidates in U.S. elections. Like, love it or hate it, this is the way laws are made here in the United States. You want to get pro-crypto laws in, you're going to have to grease the pockets of the people that are doing that. I think things like this will work. It's not what I love to see. It's not really...
Well, what's going to suck, I mean, I grant this is politics in general, but it's like you get a bunch of people who, like, obviously we're probably going to be more likely to vote for people who are pro-crypto, but let's say, like, that's one of their pillars, and then everything else is like totalitarian dictatorship. But we're like, but it's pro-crypto, and it's just like, hopefully that's not the one redeeming quality of these politicians. But like,
no, that's
I know that's
point.
a game so many people play.
No, that's a great point. I mean, there's a lot of things that will look like they're pro-crypto, but they're going to end up being pro-control, pro-dictator, pro-totalitarianism, as you said.
Shout out to Around the Blockchain in the chat.
Giving a shade.
Look who finally decided to start streaming again.
Oh, yeah. We took a couple days off.
Wow.
Yeah. Unreal.
What's up?
Yeah, we missed you guys. Welcome back Around the Blockchain.
Yeah, my favorite are all the memes. What am I supposed to do now?
Yeah, we missed you guys. We're sorry we couldn't be live Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's all Nick's fault. Blame Nick. Everybody blame Nick. The Nick-tator. Nick Demondi. It's all his fault.
Crypto sunglasses. Hey, I have a question.
Do you?
Mike Olean, say we are at the top of the cycle and we sell the top. Where do we keep parked until bear? USDT in Ledger or USDC?
Great question. That changes.
That
changes by the day almost. I would say, like, you're gonna have to assess that at the time. I wouldn't put. I mean, USDC means any stablecoin whatsoever. Let me make this clear. Any stablecoin, at least that exists, or any of the popular ones right now, you're relying on banks. Whether it's Tether, whether it's USDC. BUSD decided they're going to go to a basket, so they're not even going to be backed by dollars anymore. But anything that's backed by dollars are backed by dollars that are sitting in a bank that is potentially insolvent in and of itself. They're showing deposits, but they don't have them in liquid dollars. So it's getting scarier to use stablecoins. For me personally, it'll probably be Bitcoin because it's what I plan to hold for the long term. Anything I don't take profits into, you can take profits into actual things, whether it's other assets. You could talk about cars. You've heard me, you know, there's real estate, but there's things as simple as computers and 3D printers, things you can use to produce other things depending on what your skill set is. So that's what I look at. Okay, what could I take profits into that allows me to create more as time goes on? For us, this building we put together that has all these cameras and all these computers, like even if everything hit the fan tomorrow, we have equipment that allows us to earn income, to earn revenue, regardless of what the inflation rate is, regardless of what currency it's in, regardless if we're earning in Bitcoin or dollars or Ethereum. So in my mind, it'd be that. If you're talking portfolio management and just holding a long-term asset, for me, it's really just Bitcoin and gold. That's really the only, Bitcoin and real estate. Those are really the only two things that I feel good about holding through all this craziness. Even knowing there will be a lot of volatility in Bitcoin, even knowing, say Bitcoin goes all the way to 200,000 and it's sitting at 200,000, it seems like really you're going to take your profits into 200K Bitcoin instead of a stable coin, instead of a dollar. Potentially, you know, like I said, you're gonna have to assess that at the time. You know, we're looking at potential really bad inflation right now. If a year and a half goes by and everybody's still spinning about that same stuff, they've kicked the can down the road one more time, you know, maybe you can move it into a stable coin. But for me, most of my savings, I like to leave it in Bitcoin and then pull to dollars when I need to spend. But that's just me. Any other thoughts from you guys, BJ?
Well, Bitcoin are going up and down. It's almost like a litmus test of spending, to where it's like you're like, crap, like now my money is worth less at the moment, that's going to be worth more down the road. So it's almost like, in a way, like an involuntary savings account, because 100%. Like, do I really actually want to touch this right now? Versus you reward yourself 1/4 of the time, which I actually think is pretty awesome. I mean, it requires diligence and patience, but I mean, that is life. So
yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a really good way to manage, you know, like basically you've got X amount of time where it's almost like your revenue or your income's up for a solid year, you know, and then the other time's like, oh no, I'm living conservatively, I'm saving, you know, but when that next time comes around, I'm buying everything you've been wanting to buy, you buy at the top. Whether it's like you need a new car, you need to pay off some debt, you want a truck, you want, you know, you're looking to change your, you're looking to change, well, I want a truck. That's what
just why you said it.
That's why you said it.
Looking to change your living situation, do that renovation, whatever the thing is, do it, you know, 2025, early 25, you know, don't do it right now. Put as much as you can into crypto right now and delay all that fun stuff until the bull market comes. Then you take as many profits as you can, and then you kind of do it all over again. That being said, you know, using stable coins could be good. I mean, even DAI, I see you guys talking about DAI in the chat. DAI, you know, they got sideways when they started using a lot of USDC to back their DAI, you know, and now they're subject to the same stuff, and they're trying to get out of it as fast as they can. They're trying to get back to a basket. I like what CZ is doing with BUSD, making it backed by Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB, which is smart. It gives them a mixture of 3 different assets that probably will perform well throughout the different cycles. Now, you've got to keep a lot extra in there in order to be backed 1-to-1 during the bear market when things pull back. But I do think that's something that my resneck is showing.
Yeah, Chad is saying this, which I'm about to. As the Cardano Maxi, what about Jed?
The Jed, yeah,
Jed.
Jed, it's silent D.
Some letters are silent.
Jed,
maybe,
the D, but not the D. The D at the end is not silent.
Oh,
the D at the end is never
no.
silent.
Well, aggressively mediocre, but it's hopefully not silent. But yeah, something like that that's theoretically decentralized and not controlled by a bank, and hopefully stable.
Yeah, well, that was, I don't know if we pulled it up today. Is it on here? Oh, here we go. Yeah. So speaking of fighting back, speaking of Coinbase, just for the record, guys, this is why it's very interesting to me. This case is coming. They've been playing by the rules of the US regulators, explicitly following line by line as best they could for about 10 years now. And it looks like they're ready to start pushing back. Coinbase is making requests for builders on their L2, and one of the products they want to incubate is a non-fiat pegged stablecoin. Now, this has been obviously on the radar of regulators in a big way. So ideas for builders, flat coins. We are fascinated by the deep thought we're seeing in decentralized stablecoin design and are particularly interested in flat coins. Stablecoins that track the rate of inflation, enabling users to have stability and purchasing power while also having resilience from the economic uncertainty caused by the legacy financial system, which is exactly what we're talking about. Like, what do you do when you don't trust banks?
Right.
We also welcome other forms of flat coins that do not peg to fiat, but rather fill the space between fiat-pegged coins and volatile crypto assets. With the recent challenges in our global banking system, we believe these explorations are more important than ever. We're excited to hear from teams that are exploring their own system of stablecoins, flat coins, or focused on ways to increase adoption of already existing systems such as Reflexer, Ray, which is RAI, Spot, Ampleforth, Frax, Olympus DAO, etc. So if you guys don't know, a lot of those, what did they call it? Was it Elastic stablecoins, I think they used to call it, or I think it was Elastic. Basically, where the supply would change with the instead of the, and it is kind of how stablecoins work.
Wouldn't that be pseudo inelastic?
I don't know.
Like, yeah, I guess it comes down to semantics on that.
But basically what it does is it's got a stable coin that will adjust with the, like, say it's pegged to the dollar and the dollar starts running out of control. The amount of this stable coin will go that you're holding will go up because it's going to be trying to regulate your purchasing power. Now, how are they going to achieve that? I have no idea. That's
because isn't that kind of what we already do with fiat in a weird way?
It is somewhat,
like,
yeah.
Which doesn't actually work.
No, it doesn't, and that's basically what the Fed would say is what they've been doing this whole time. Oh, we're just trying to make the money supply a little bit more elastic. That was what the goal of what they said. Basically, meaning when everybody wants their money, we've got a way to widen that gap a little bit between the supply that is and the supply that should be, I guess. Literally describing BTC. No, BTC is very set with the emission rate and the supply. It doesn't, this is much more dynamically changing system. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Bitcoin is designed to protect your purchasing power in the face of inflation, but it does still have a lot of volatility. And I agree, this BTC, give it another 30, 40 years, will most likely fill this void.
Yeah, and the idea of this sounds super weird too, is in the sense that, all right, let's say you have an AI-based elastic change that's going on. Once you know what parameters it's looking for, then you can manipulate that from a macro level as well. So it's like, it still feels like you're in the same boat.
Yeah, this is not going to be a simple solve. I mean, it's almost like we're talking about different stable coins, but basically what they're saying is they want to see a lot of effort and energy going into exploring this. UST, which is the Terra stable coin, was fascinating when it was working. A lot of people were intrigued by this. Oh, this stable coin that's not backed by fiat. It's an algorithmic stable coin, and it adjusts and it does all this different stuff based on what's going on. And then to exactly BJ's point, once somebody understands what it's doing well enough, it only takes a certain amount of capital to attack it, to bring it down, to cause a crash, which we could likely see many more times before we solve this issue, ultimately, which is something to keep in mind, guys. There was several attempts at a digital online payment currency system before we got to Bitcoin, and several of them started to work and then crashed spectacularly, just like we've seen with other forms of crypto assets, but like Terra, like other smart contract platforms. We've seen it. Trial and error is not necessarily something to be afraid of in crypto. It's something that actually moves the market forward. It's where innovation happens. It's what allows us to create this digital revolution that we're experiencing today. So love seeing Coinbase push that forward. This is definitely a no-no zone when it comes to the United States. So just the fact that they're promoting this shows either A, they're really ready to fight, B, they know they're going to win, C, they've got their ducks in a row to get out of the United States pretty quickly if they need to.
Also, it goes back to my ridiculous, theory that Coinbase is what the government's going to kind of try to use to FUD and then basically not outlaw crypto, but just screw over so many people that you create that ultimate FUD. And doing that with potentially like a CDBC where they're like, oh, we tried to do the CDBC, it didn't work. Now we're going to do it off chain. See, Coinbase failed. See, this thing failed. And then basically then get in at the floor and then realize, because you're not getting rid of any of this, but you still need to wash out as many people as possible
and slow it down.
Create dissonance as much as
what
possible.
they're trying to do is get their arms around it, guys. Yeah. And when something, it's running away from them as fast as possible, and they're trying to go like this, and they're trying to close this part before it's gone forever outside the reach of their arms. Yep. And we're right there. I mean, they're going like this, and crypto's running right through this little gap, and the arms are closing, and we're I think we're gonna squeak through, but you never know. These next two clips do require audio.
Oh god.
So while he's pulling his butt up off the couch, we got about 450 people in here right now. Only 152 likes. You guys do know the magic like goal of every single stream is 420 likes. If you guys could smash that like button, get us to 420 likes, we'd really appreciate it. If you guys are on Twitch, you could hop over, hit the like button on the tubes. We'd really appreciate it because that's what this is all about. You know, getting the news out there. This message we're about to play right now.
This dude looks like a magician.
This guy is Edward Griffin. He is the author of The Creature from Jekyll Island. And he's going to give us a brief analogy of what just happened and what has continued to happen over the course.
I sure hope those fellers don't get mad at us.
Yeah, and so when you pull this, does it still pull my laptop microphone?
That's what it does.
Okay. All right, so I have to be not talking.
Able to borrow a tremendous amount of money and therefore spend more than it takes in taxes through this process. But never enough. They always need more than that. Not to worry, they say. They walk further down the street to the Federal Reserve building. Now the Fed has been waiting for them. That's one of the reasons it was created. They walk in there and the Federal Reserve officer opens up his desk drawer, pulls out a big checkbook, and he writes a check to the United States Treasury for $1 billion and hands it to them. Now we need to stop and ask a question. Where did they get that money? That $1 billion, that's a lot of money. Who put the money into that account for the Federal Reserve so they could give it to Congress or to the Treasury? And the answer is, there is no money there. There's absolutely zero. There's just a checkbook. Well, if you and I were to do that, we would go to jail. But they can do it because Congress wants them to do it. This, in fact, is the payoff. This is the benefit to the government for being in the partnership. The government can go to the Federal Reserve and obtain instant amounts of any amount of money they want without having to confront the taxpayer and say, we're going to raise your taxes for this money directly. It would be very unpopular if Congress had to go to the public and say, you know, we have a lot of money we want to take from you folks, and it's going to cost you $3,000 per family more than it did last year. You know how long they'd last in office. So they like this mandrake mechanism very well. The public doesn't know that it's costing them anything. It's just how it works somehow.
There you go. And like you said, they love this mandrake mechanism so well. A lot of really good comments there. Somebody said, IB Mike King. Shout out Multi-Sig Dummy. Welcome back. We hung out with you a lot over the weekend. IB Mike King says, just like the spoon in the Matrix, there is no spoon. There is no money. The money's not there. But if you believe the money is there, then that's all that really matters.
Well, this is the deep talk that people need, like, that are outside of crypto to understand why I mean, this is why a lot of the reason why I crypto is because it's already just
crypto.
Yeah, it's already funny money, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It like we all exist in a moment of hilarious money, in my opinion, with how they're creating just our overall financial stability. It's a clown show. So basically, like moving into cryptocurrency doesn't seem so crazy when you look at how the nuts and bolts of this system are actually put together. It makes a lot more
clown
sense.
show is a great way to describe it. So imagine just for a minute, 2 weekends ago, Silicon Valley Bank was going under. All this money was about to get removed, or depositors weren't going to be made whole. Imagine if, rather than just going and getting the Federal Reserve, like he just described, like, hey, wait, we need you to write us a check real quick for $1 billion, and then all of our problems go away. Imagine if they had to wait, emergency, we need to vote to raise the taxes on all the citizens of the United States by roughly $3,000 to $4,000 per citizen, maybe $6,000 per household. We need to raise that tax real quick. We need congressional approval to do so. How well do you think the citizens would have received that message?
Right. The Tea Party was over a very small amount.
So they've learned a new way to do this without having to go and tell everybody what they're doing. Like he said, the mandrake mechanism, we are gonna raise taxes on all the citizens. They're just not gonna feel it. We're not gonna call it taxes. We're gonna call it inflation. It's gonna be spread out over time. We're gonna. What are you guys laughing at?
Like a fart in church.
Well, spread out in time.
And so most people end up just being like, "Shoo, glad that's over. You know, we're saved."
Yeah, 100%. People hear that. People hear like, "Oh yeah, this banking thing was gonna happen," and now they saved us. Congress saved us, or the Fed fixed it, or
someone else.
Yeah, the
Not our
president stepped
problem.
in and fixed the problem. It's not a problem anymore. No, the problem remains. It's now bigger than it was before, and you are still paying the price. They've used some magicianry, as BJ would say. Or
It's
maybe
like how
not.
you boil a frog in water. You start it at a low temperature, and
magicianry.
Oh my God!
Perfect.
See
That
myself
was your
out.
moment too.
Yeah, that was.
There it
They'll
is.
never love me.
Rug Gang asked, am I wrong to wonder why the F they even bothered doing the whole bank thing? Like, couldn't they just print the money, dish it out, and stay out of the news? It being public has to be premeditated, right? Yes and no. Some of this, they do have to feign congressional approval, even though they do stuff without Congress all the time. But some of this stuff, yeah, just to check their legal boxes of the framework, they do have to have it in public. But most of it actually does happen behind closed doors and undisclosed meetings. Like the details of what's actually going on gets figured out much later. They just come out and say, okay, we're writing this $1 billion, the Fed's going to handle it. And then how the Fed handles it is much more difficult to actually get an answer on.
Yep.
I have a question from Nanana. Pardon if you already answered this earlier, but how about total collapse of banking system? That's what's coming. How long do they survive? May 2023?
I think they make it past May of 2023. That's a really tough. I love all this stuff across the screen. It's so fun.
Yeah,
Because Joe rated us.
Oh, we got the raid from Hit Network Gaming.
The gamers.
Make sure, guys, if you're not subscribed to Hit Network Gaming yet on YouTube, right after this stream, make sure you go do that. Like I said, we're trying to get to 1,000 subs. So the question was, what?
When's the banking collapse?
When does the banking system collapse? That's what
one reality check.
When collapse?
Yeah. I mean, people have been trying to answer that question for a long time. I do say, we did cover a tweet from Omar last week that says it's inevitable, but trying to predict it is kind of a fool's errand. They say, there's a common phrase in markets and in trading that says the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. I would apply that to this 100%. Drew said it best. This is a clown's world. It is an insano world kind of game that the markets are playing right now, but they have been doing it for quite some time. How much longer can they do it? I say past May of 2023.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say less than 10 years, though.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to keep doing it as long as they can. Then it's a matter of, do people realize it? They might just keep doing it, but do people keep buying a ticket to the clown show? I don't know.
I think they do. I mean, because they're so upset about 10 other things that don't really matter. But I mean, what do you think, BJ? Would you put, if you were going to put a timeline on it, what would you say?
May 7th. No, I'm kidding. It's got to be under 10 years. I mean, with the rate of everything that's going on, the stuff from Unky Klaus setting it at 2030, that puts us at 7 years theoretically there. But I think with a lot of things, they give you a time frame. They're probably going to rug pull you and do it sooner than that. With other macroeconomic issues, BRICS happening and all that, there's got to be a global meltdown soon.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to hit Drew real quick, and then I'm going to run through a couple of these, and I got to wrap.
The third world championship will be decided in 2032.
2032. All right.
Nice.
So this was good. Don Alt, another, again, a great account I reference all the time. In my opinion, the market is so effing simple right now. Banking bailouts will either put BTC on the big player map, which is what I tend to agree. I think that will happen, or the establishment will kill it. We either win.
One of those is impossible. Cool.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, they could dramatically slow it down.
Yeah.
At least here in the United States. We either win big or lose big here. No time to be wishy-washy about it. You're either Omega Bull or cheering for zero. And I tend to agree. This is getting more and more polarized as time goes on. I agree with that. This one, this was Ryan Selkis saying, and I agree with this sentiment 100%. He's pushing back. He says, I'm sick of feeling like we have to apologize for our early stage and walk on eggshells around politicians and regulators. We built $1 trillion asset class with 100 million users in under 10 years with no institutional support and active encumbrances from the government. Like, this is an amazing thing that should be cheered and accommodated from our government and our politicians and our regulators. Yet it's not. It's being chastised. It's being attacked. It's being questioned. It's being, and then this guy put in there also, it's clear money is being upgraded. It's clear financial rails are being upgraded. It's clear stablecoins help USD globally and versus China CBDC. It's clear companies would like to be based in the United States. US could easily be the center of digital finance if it wanted to. And, you know, this is what I think what's so frustrating to a lot of the builders in this space, that we've got huge opportunities. We created this new, you know, asset class. We can dominate this new asset class as a country, and we're getting pushback from regulators left and right. Real quick, this was another, you know, you guys heard me reference this earlier. Let me pull it back and pause it. We played this on the Bitcoin crypto morning stream as well. This was from the president of Kenya telling his citizens to get out of the dollar.
For the people who work numbers, I am giving you free advice that those of you who are holding dollars, you surely might go into losses. You better do what you must do, because this market is going to be different in a couple of weeks.
All right. So he says a couple of weeks. Yeah, I know. I'm almost done. I'll be up there. This market's going to be different in a couple of weeks, he says. So take that for what it's worth. It's another nation trading outside of the U.S. dollar. Did you have something you wanted to say there, Drew?
I could rail for way too long about what that guy is calling for, but expect pain in the short term for our markets here in the U.S., and there's going to be a big transition, and you're going to have to be stubborn and very built into your position if you want to make it to the other side of this. That's what I'll say.
And then last but not least, I did want to mention this. We got Arbitrum airdrop sees 1,500 addresses consolidate 3.3 million into 2 wallets. Jesus. Now that's some airdrop farming if you guys have never seen it before. Just something to keep an eye on. Be careful with ARB. It will pump, but only 1/10 of the supply has been released. Good point. I do think it's a good accumulator for the long-term cycle. It seems to be around $1, but somewhere between $1 and $1.30 seems to be its value where it's landed right now. Let's see if it's still sitting there. I would recommend checking that out. I'm still accumulating for 2025. But that's all we have time for today, guys. I got to hop on another call. Yeah, you got a call waiting on me. Yeah, I know. SAS Finance, Andre, Anyone, Shrimpy Scapegoat, Corey, Fluffy the Sheep, Blazing 2JZ, Corey, SAS Finance, Chemistry Bro, Peanut Pecker, Dr. Trist, Rug Gang, Bud Lightyear, Razmataz, Casino Doggy, Manawalk. This is the Bitcoin Way, Crimson Caravan Company, Razmataz, IB Mike King, Enzo Mining, Rug Gang, Ruyo. Go hang out with Hit Network Gaming. We love all of you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.